.org, ¿no?
Exacto.
Eso tan sencillito.
Just say, hey, interpreter.
Hello, our interpreter. We're trying to get you to be promoted to a panelist. So
They should get a
you should have
request.
an invite or request. I'm gonna send another one just in.
Well, I still haven't been admitted in.
Okay, that's weird. I've been sending them.
Request.
Oh, okay, cool. We got you, I think. Yeah, there we go. Cool.
Okay, there we are.
Ask him if he's going to make the announcement.
Are you going to be making the announcement?
Yes,
Diego?
I will. Yes.
Okay,
And
cool.
my colleague Astrid's going to be joining us,
Okay,
but I'll be giving the announcement. So just let me know when you're ready.
The mayor will say.
sounds good. The mayor will say, and I'll get you put in as our interpreter right now.
Nope, because he's doing the announcement.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I'm sorry. This is my first time.
So he'll just wait for the mayor to ask for the announcement.
Okay.
Get ready to call the meeting to order in 1 minute. All right, it's 5:30. Thank you. Good evening. I'm Barbara Noseworthy, Mayor, and welcome to the July 5th City Council meeting. We're calling this meeting to order at 5:30. And do we have a translator on board?
Yes, Mayor. We have Diego, and I'm going to.
He's good to go.
He's good to go. Yeah.
Great. Welcome, Diego.
Thank you, Mayor. Hi, everyone. So I'll get started with the instructions again. Hi, everyone. Diego Ponce here with my colleague Astrid. We're here from the Community Language Cooperative. Thanks as always for having us today at your meeting. We're going to continue practicing language justice today. So all this means is that we're here so we can help create a space where people participate and engage in the language of their heart, which is simply the language that you feel most comfortable in. So we'll use simultaneous interpretation to help create this space here in Zoom in English and in Spanish. So once I'm finished saying this in English, I'll repeat it in Spanish. At that moment, we'll turn on the interpretation. Once interpretation is turned on, you'll be able to see a globe icon that says interpretation there in the bottom right-hand corner of your computer screen. Please select that globe icon when it appears on your screen, and please select your preferred language. If you happen to be joining today's meeting on your cell phone or your tablet, however, I'll ask you to please look for the More button or the 3 dots button in order to select your preferred language that way. So if you're not fully bilingual, We'll ask you to please select your preferred language so you can utilize the interpretation whenever someone is speaking in the opposite language. And if you are bilingual, then you can just feel free to listen to everyone in the original language and you don't ever have to hear from us, the interpreters. So thank you for that. Buenas tardes a todos y a todas. Mi nombre es Diego Pons y estoy aquí hoy con mi colega Astrid Arroyave de parte de la Cooperativa Comunitaria de Justicia del Lenguaje. Como siempre, gracias por invitarnos hoy a su reunión. Hoy nos vamos a comprometer a continuar sirviendo la justicia del lenguaje. Lo que eso significa es que queremos crear un espacio para que todas las personas puedan participar e involucrarse en el idioma de su corazón, que es simplemente el idioma en que todas las personas se sientan más cómodas. Hoy vamos a utilizar interpretación simultánea aquí en Zoom para poder crear este espacio en inglés y en español. Cuando ya termine de decir esto, se activará la interpretación. Ya cuando la interpretación esté activada, usted va a poder observar un icono de un globo terráqueo que dirá interpretación allá abajo en la derecha de su pantalla de su computadora. Por favor, seleccione ese icono del globo terráqueo cuando aparezca en su pantalla y por favor seleccione su idioma preferido. Si usted está asistiendo a esa reunión en su celular, en su tableta, yo le voy a pedir que por favor busque la opción que dice More, que quiere decir más, o el botón de 3 puntos para que usted pueda seleccionar su idioma preferido de esta manera. Si usted no es completamente bilingüe, le pediré que por favor seleccione su idioma preferido para que pueda utilizar interpretación cuando alguien esté hablando en el otro idioma. Pero si usted sí es bilingüe, entonces por favor siéntase libre de escuchar a todos hoy en su idioma original y jamás siéntase escuchando a nosotros los intérpretes hablar. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Diego. You'll note I changed the order around. I wanted to start with the translation and then now, Faye, if we could have the roll call, please.
Certainly. Councillor Baxter,
Present.
Councillor Bosman's,
Present.
Councillor Buell,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Youssef,
Here.
and Mayor Nosworthy.
Present, thank you. So welcome. I will start with just a statement that I read. It is my own statement. It does not reflect the opinion or consensus of the council. For thousands of years, this region was home to numerous people, bands, tribes, and nations. Each had their distinct culture, artistic expression, and community mores. In particular, this region was the ancestral home of the Nuchu, Dene, Pueblo, Hopi, multiple Apache bands, and various other tribes and Latinx people who used and stewarded this land. I recognize that indigenous peoples were forcibly removed from their ancestral lands by the US government. It is important to recognize that the narrative of this region has mostly been told from the dominant perspective without recognition of those who came before us and who to this day continue to thrive, create, and connect with this land. Thank you for your respect in acknowledging this legacy. Thank you. So next is any identification of actual or perceived conflict of interest. Does any counselor have a perceived or potential conflict? None? Great. We will then move to public participation in the process. This section of the agenda is set aside for the public to provide comments or ask questions regarding items that are not scheduled for a hearing or public testimony or that do not otherwise appear on this agenda. City Council will not respond to questions from the dais. Citizens should address their comments directly to the City Council. As this is a hybrid meeting, the avenues for public participation have been adjusted. All written comments received by the city clerk by noon today have been delivered to council and will be summarized in the meeting minutes. I believe we will start with anyone present in the room and then we'll move to anyone virtual. The first person is Mr. Doug Wallace. If you'll please come up and again, state your name and if you're a resident of the city or the county.
Thank you. My name is Doug Wallace, and I am the president of the board of directors of Durango Youth Soccer Association, better known as DYSA. This morning, we filed a comment, which you probably have, through the council's website regarding the proposal to eliminate a third of the parking at the Smith Athletic Complex. Fear not, I don't intend to go over that extensive comment. Instead, I'd like to highlight DYSA's history of investment in the community and our willingness to partner with the city and the school district to create athletic facilities. Founded in 1993, as early as 1995, the club committed $5,000 to the development of Riverview Sports Complex at the school. That facility, as you know, is owned by 9R, but maintained and managed by the city. It happens to be the best field in the city. In 2004, we were instrumental in the creation of the athletic fields at Escalante Middle School. Club members and supporters contributed cash and in-kind labor and supplies totaling in excess of $275,000 to create 3 full-size athletic fields. In 2010, after the city's application for a GOCO grant for $700,000 to construct the Smith Complex was rejected for lack of community financial support, DYSA stepped up and donated $40,000, along with Durango Lacrosse, who donated $2,000, and the football club, who donated $500. With that showing of community financial support, the city reapplied for and obtained the $700,000 grant in 2011. Those contributions were based upon the design of the project contained in the grant application, which included 3 athletic fields, 1 youth athletic field, and the standard 60 adjacent parking spaces per field. Although it was completed in 2012, the fields were delayed in opening until 2017 because of problems. We are not opposed to construction of new pickleball courts. In the interim, between now and Three Springs pickleball courts being created, we have suggested that Santa Rita Park is a better location. And we've set forth a number of reasons in our comment, if you've had a chance to look at it. We've also proposed that to remediate the loss of turf at Santa Rita, the city take over the Escalante fields, which are currently unusable. And that would more than triple the amount of turf fields in the city. That would be turf that would be taken up by the construction of the pickleball courts at Santa Rita. In conclusion, as set forth in our comments, DYSA believes that the proposal to destroy 1/3 of the parking lot that's only been used for 5 years will not merely degrade the facility, but will also endanger our players and their families by requiring them to access the fields by crossing 8th Avenue. That is not the kind of facility that we donated our money for. So it is our hope that the city council will direct the Department of Parks and Recreation to consider an alternative location.
Thank you, Mr. Wallace. Thank you. We have anyone virtually who has raised their hand?
No, Mayor, we do not.
Okay, thank you. Then we will move on to presentation of the first quarter 2022 activities by Visit Durango. Rachel, welcome.
Hi. So Tom said it would be. Oh, great. Oh, sure. Mhm.
Rachel, can you minimize the sidebar, please? Thank you. Far to the left. If you go to the far left, you remove it completely. Well, yeah, there we go. Thank you.
Sure. One sec. So thank you for having me with you today. I sent over a PowerPoint, it was about 50 slides. I'm not going to be presenting all of those today, just some of the highlights, about 10 minutes probably, and then I'll save some time for questions at the end. So Waylon Ryan, who's in the audience with us here today, who most of you have met at this point, has made great progress so far on his community listening tour and strategic planning town hall sessions. So far, he's met with all the organizations on the right, including our chambers of commerce, banking entities, environmental groups, and more. I'm excited to share that in June, Governor Polis's office chose me to be on the Colorado Tourism Office Board of Directors. An important piece of this is that there's only one seat on their board for DMMOs. So it is a big deal for Durango that we were chosen as the one destination to fill that seat. And I'm really excited to get started there. Tourism Sentiment Index is a data software system that we subscribe to as part of our effort to start capturing more quality of life metrics. They track conversations online, social media, website, news, etc. And they see how positive or negative the sentiment is about a tourism destination. In 2021, our score was 28, and for Q1 of this year, our score went up to 31. Might not sound like a very high score, but it's on a scale of -100 to +100. And for reference, Disneyland, the happiest place on earth, scores in the mid-40s. So this is actually a great score. If you have a score as high as we do, that means your destination brand promise exceeded visitor expectations and ultimately the destination experience. What is most exciting about our score from last year is that the company who tracks this also scores over 10,000 destinations worldwide. And on that very long list, Durango was ranked number 36 most loved destination in the world. We also came in as 7th most loved destination in the country and the #1 in Colorado. So a huge win for us that we can all celebrate. This is a graph of visitor flows for January through March. You can see a large peak at the beginning of the year and another peak in mid-March. Other accomplishments in destination management, Wayland won us a very competitive grant from the state office for $20,000. 47 people applied to that, only 15 were awarded the grant. I also received my sustainable tourism certification earlier this year, and we were asked to speak at Mountain Travel Symposium on a panel about destination pathways to sustainable tourism. The other destinations on the panel were Vail, Jackson Hole, and Breckenridge. These are really the gold standard in the industry for sustainable and regenerative tourism. So the fact that we were part of such an esteemed group is a great sign that we're taking steps in the right direction for our destination. I know there's been a lot of talk about Visit Durango tracking more quality of life metrics. I'm happy to report that we are now including the Tourism Sentiment Index and livability score in our metrics. Heather from Region 9 has also been very helpful in tracking down some more economic info about tourism, jobs, economics. And the good news is we were able to find a reporting tool for the Census Bureau to look at quantity of jobs in the tourism sector and average monthly earnings. The downside is that they have quite a lag with that tool. It's about 3 quarters to a year. So we will be able to track that, but unfortunately there's not a lot we can do about that lag. I'm also excited about you all choosing to move forward with the Destination Management Master Plan. I know Tom's in the process of putting out that RFP. I think that will shed a lot of light and help us get to more measurement methods that we can use for those quality of life metrics. And I wanted to share some marketing graphics and ads with you all. We've had a lot of success with sweepstakes. Sometimes we get over 80,000 entries per sweepstakes. This is an example of our sustainable vacation sweepstakes. Some marketing KPIs, they were very strong in Q1 and outperformed all of our Q1 metrics for 2020, both in paid and organic. Here's some notable media coverage we secured in Q1. And I know the local event marketing is of particular interest to council, so a couple points to share with you there. As a reminder, the total for local event marketing is $333,000, about 26% of our budget. And you've all seen this slide before, but as a reminder, local event marketing funds support the creation of new events like Bike Month and Restaurant Week or 2 we're planning on. They also support frontline hospitality training and recognition events and marketing and advertising for local events and much more. And specifically with the advertising and marketing, while the marketing grant program is an exciting piece of this budget, it is just one piece. Visit Durango is producing our own events, and we also offer a lot of support and assistance to local events beyond that grant program. For all events, we offer consultations, promotion on social media and our website. And then depending on the event, we offer a lot of additional services such as features and paid ads, email, collateral, ticket giveaway sweepstakes, guest blogs, and even event photo and video shoots. These are some screenshots of those promotions. You can see Instagram and TikTok reels. There's an example of a Bach and Burritos sweepstakes for music in the mountains, a dedicated landing page, and then you see a picture of the Welcome Center hosting a booth for the Clean Commute Week. Our events committee has accomplished a lot in a few short months. This is the group. These are open to the public. Our next one is Thursday at 9:30 at our offices if you're interested in joining. Visit Durango staff do attend and advise, but we do not vote on the amounts or the awards for the grants. So far, this group has awarded over 77,000 of grants to 17 different events. You can see the list of those awarded on the right. And I would say the main reason that a few have been denied is just because they were taking place outside of Durango and they did not have strong partnerships or economic impact linked to the city. When it comes to sales, we continue to hit the major trade shows for domestic and international tour operators. We went to the Super Bowl of Tourism, IPW in Orlando this June. We had 65 appointments with tour operators and about 20 appointments with media and journalists. And we continue to bring great groups to town. Thank you again to Mayor Noseworthy for giving the welcoming kickoff speech to Rally North America. We also recently hosted all the state DMO directors for the annual CADMO meeting in Durango. And we had an excellent panel discussion at that event about workforce issues facing Durango and La Plata County. And then just a quick organizational update. If you're curious, these are our expenses for Q1. We are a bit behind spending on destination management because, as I mentioned, Waylon is doing his listening tour and strategic planning, and we're waiting to see that process through before we make a few decisions there. And I know some of you have seen this already, but in case you haven't yet, as you all know, Visit Durango is now a destination management and marketing organization. We still do marketing, but a majority of our efforts are focused on destination management and regenerative tourism. To reflect this, we recently did an analysis of our budget for the year, our staff time, how we allocate resources. And as you can see, 45% of our resources are focused on regenerative and sustainable tourism initiatives. About 41% of our efforts are specifically for off-peak season promotions and marketing, and then 13% is everything else. This is our board of directors, not a lot new here. We do have one new board member in the transportation sector, which was previously held by Tony Vicari. Our board has appointed Lisa Schwantes, who is the Southwest Regional Communications Manager for CDOT. And exciting news, we're fully staffed. We replaced a couple of roles that had been left empty. Nicole Bennett started with us today, and John Ragazzino starts with us tomorrow. They're both local to the county. And Quayla Allen is our new inclusivity consultant. I also wanted to share that Nick Kogos, our marketing manager, recently got his licensed drone pilot certification with the FAA. Additionally, Brooke Henderson recently graduated Leadership of La Plata, and she was also just appointed as the vice chair for the Four Corners Alliance for Diversity. And with it being our busy summer season, we have two new part-time Welcome Center hires, Kate Blakely and Tamarin Hortzman. And those are the highlights.
Great.
Any questions for me?
Thank you, Rachel. Let's open it up to council. Questions or comments?
Thank you for the presentation. Looks interesting. I was just wondering, how is your, I'm not sure if you have that, are your expenses for the first quarter? I guess you're pretty close to the second quarter, I guess, but are they on target or are you having extra? Or how is
They
it compared?
are
from-
on target, other than, as I mentioned, we're a bit behind with destination management. That's one of the departments in our budget. So we have some spending catch up to do there. And that's just because Waylon being a newer hire and finishing some of his strategic planning, we wanted to make sure we'd heard from the community before we make some decisions as far as what we spend there.
And is it consistent over the year, or do you have a peak in expenses during summer months, or is it?
It's pretty consistent throughout the year. We have some end of the year costs, resubscribing to things, some beginning of the year with ad buys and things, but I'd say it's pretty even throughout the months.
Okay, well, thank you.
Other questions, comments?
I would just add that it was really nice to meet Waylon, and thank you guys for reaching out. And I'm definitely looking forward to hearing more about your efforts around sustainable marketing going forward. That'll be great. And I did have a question on, kind of how you're seeing for this first part of summer. What are you seeing now? I know most of the numbers we saw were through first quarter one, but just curious how you're tracking.
Yeah, so, we look at visitor volume with cell phone data and hotel occupancy. And right now, we're tracking slightly ahead of last year, about flat, but, I'd say last year was pretty healthy. So I'd say we're at a good level for this year. And yeah, hopefully nothing new pops up with pandemics or otherwise, but fingers crossed.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for the presentation, and it was great to meet you guys today. Would you say with this big push and the new budget adjustment with, I know Waylon hasn't done all the work and we're just kind of getting started, but what would you say the shift in tourism that you've seen? Like, how has it impacted tourism, the shift in budget? Has it? We're talking a little bit today about.
Oh, sure. Well, so what I wanted to capture with that one graph is that a lot of, we still focus a lot on marketing, but it is on sustainable marketing. It's more in market. So if you guys have seen, we have Care for Durango ads running throughout town. We have banners up over Maine, ads in local publications. So that's where a lot of our efforts have been going. And I would say so far we've heard anecdotally that, we're getting responsible travelers and things, but it's a bit of a mixed bag. So yeah, just from the anecdotal, it's a little hard to tell so far. So
Thank you.
yeah.
So you showed the hotel occupancy rate, I think at 48% for the first quarter. Is that all hotels in Durango, or is it just that a select group?
That is all hotels in La Plata County. So, majority being in Durango, of course, and then with the short-term rental occupancy, that being more heavily weighted on the county.
And so what does quarter two look like?
Oh, I want to say it was around 70%, but I'd have to check.
70?
Yeah.
So my understanding was in the past, we weren't getting that information from all the hotels because there are corporate hotels who don't report that information. So how do we know what the actual occupancy is?
So we subscribe to Smith Travel Reports, STR, and they are the international group that collects all that data from the hotels. We have no control over who reports, but we have, it's the majority for sure that do report. I think there's always going to be a select few that choose not to opt in, but when they do it themselves, they get the information themselves as well. And for competitive reasons, they want to know how the other businesses in town are doing. So they have motivation to fill it out.
It would be interesting to know actually how many, if we have 50 hotels, how many we're getting information from.
Yeah, I could look that up for you.
Be great.
Sure.
So I appreciate meeting with you and Waylon. That was a great conversation we had. Thank you. And I'm really glad that you're here reporting quarterly.
Me too.
Thank you.
And hopefully we can stay on track and maybe for Q2. I'll get a little closer to the end of the quarter, but I know you guys have busy agendas, so.
Rachel, I have a question. First of all, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for sending the information well in advance. Appreciate that. On the occupancy rate, do you have the ability to separate the data so that if it's in the county, you know what how the county is doing as a result for the hotel occupancy? And can you also separate it from short-term rental? I'm wondering if short-term rentals might be skewing the data downward because maybe they're not making them available for every day of the month.
So when that slide that was in the larger presentation in our year in review, when we report hotel occupancy, that's just hotels. There's no short-term rental data in there. We report that separately. It's a whole separate system called AirDNA. I do believe we could, I mean, we'd have to do it manually to separate out the Durango versus La Plata County. We could do that. It would be, the vast majority are in Durango, but we could look at that.
I would think that perhaps the commissioners would also appreciate having the specific information. So I'm not speaking for them, but I think there's value in having some specifics there. Thank you. And also welcome, Waylon. It was a pleasure to meet with you.
Yeah, and the short-term rental occupancy number is always much lower just with the nature of that market. So we intentionally report them separately because it's just a whole different beast.
Except it was higher in Q1. It was 51% versus 48.
Oh, okay. Any other questions?
Do you also have information on when you do that short-term rental, how many, you have your occupancy rate that you provide? By the same token, I would assume that you could then tell us how many days those units are sitting empty?
Yeah, we can look at that. We look at average daily rate, revenue per available rental, and we can also break it down any way you want to slice it, 3-room STRs, STRs that only have a week minimum, certain different rules they have. So we can slice it a lot of different ways.
Okay, thank you. I asked that because I'm aware of other communities that have worked on incentivizing some of the short-term rentals to actually provide longer rental agreements. And I'm just interested in having that data. I believe Eva's worked on that when she was at a former location. So it would be interesting data.
Yeah, I'll look into at least like what the average length of stay is. And we do know from our cell phone tracking data that the average length of stay for Q1, I think, was 3.9 days, which is pretty good. A lot of people have always thought of us as this kind of night or two weekend destination, but people tend to stay longer than that, which is good.
And I have one more
Less
question.
impact. Sure.
I have one more question. Other than, just people describing what they think they're seeing, how do you envision actually, and maybe this is a question for the second quarter, how do you envision being able to quantify the success of your sustainable regenerative tourism? How is the visitor changing behavior or
Sure.
purchasing items?
Yeah, so
And showing that it's working.
we can track some demographic data with the tools we have now. Datafy reports on certain trends and demographic data. Tourism Sentiment Index gives us an idea of what's motivating people to stay here, stay longer. I'm hoping that with the Destination Management Master Plan, we can dive into that deeper. I think I mentioned to a couple of you, I met with Tourism Sentiment Index recently, and they're working on this algorithm that is, what is it? Value minus, or
Impact equals
yeah,
equals.
value minus impact equals prosperity.
Right.
And it factors in economic leakage and all these different things. So if we get hopefully a qualified firm like that, they can help guide us down quantifying some of those things more.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Looks like Waylon wants to say an introduction, please.
Yeah, so hi, Waylon Ryan, Sustainability Policy Manager with Visit Durango. So just in answer to that as well, once we get done with the community engagement and we develop 5 to 10 initiatives we can work on. From those, each of those initiatives will have 2 to 3 indicators and what's called a leading indicator and a lagging. So you'll be up to possible 6 indicators per initiative. So then we'll be able to at least mark tracks on that. So let's just say composting is top of mind as an example for people. Then we can say, okay, based on our initiative, here's the KPIs around this, and we can start to see how we're making an impact with very specific initiatives. And that'll help work on some of the overall impacts you have as well.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and we'll continue to do our annual resident sentiment survey as well, which will hopefully shed some light on that. So
Perfect. Thank you.
thanks.
Next, we have city manager, city operational updates.
Yes, Mayor and Council have a few updates, and so I'll call a couple staff members up. But first, I did want Justin Elkins, if you wouldn't mind coming up for a second. Justin was promoted in June, early June, to be our utilities manager. And so since Allison is out on a much deserved vacation, Justin is also filling in for the utility side, and thought it'd be a good opportunity for him just to give a brief introduction to himself to the city council, as he is over our water and wastewater operations. Justin.
Yeah, thanks, Jose. So hi, my name is Justin Elkins, current utilities manager for the city. I started my career in municipal utilities about 10 years ago, cutting grass for a wastewater plant on the Front Range. About 3 years after that, I was managing the place. So moved to Durango about 1.5 years ago to manage the wastewater plant here. Did a pretty good job, I think, of managing the wastewater plant there, and have now been moved into the open utilities manager position. So I'm very excited for all the opportunities there for the new structure that we have in place with the Public Works Department. I think it's a great move by Jose to set it up that way. Really excited about the opportunities in the utilities division that we have right now. I mean, moving in my first week in the position, I was handed the CIP list and said it's due on Friday. So, you know, it's budget season and the wheels are turning there. But it's not my first time managing budget. And I look forward to an opportunity to present my work to you and to get your feedback. So thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Next up, we have Devin Schmidt to give a presentation about a second Government Finance Officers Association award that we received recently.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Devin Schmidt, Budget and Strategic Plan Officer. I wanted to let Council know that the City of Durango has received the Government Finance Officers Association's Distinguished Budget Award for its 2022 budget. So the award represents a significant achievement by the entity. It reflects the commitment of the governing body and the staff to meet the highest principles of governmental budgeting. So in order to receive the budget award, the entity has to satisfy nationally recognized guidelines for effective budget presentation. So these guidelines are designed to assess how well the entity's budget serves as a policy document, a financial plan, an operations guide, and a communications device. So budgets must be rated as proficient in each of all 4 categories and in the 14 mandatory criteria within those categories to receive the award. In addition, the City of Durango received the special recognition for strategic goals and strategies as part of the 2022 budget. And I wanted to highlight that this is really the first time the city has received this award since 2019. I'd really like to thank Council and Jose for your support as we navigated and transitioned into the city's first ever online budget book using OpenGov, and as well as the credit's really due to every department within the city, because it's a huge collaborative effort, as Justin just mentioned. We're getting all the information from the department. So, yep, just wanted to provide that update. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Devin. Congratulations as well. And we also have on that note, Tony Vicari with our airport has an announcement that he just sent out this afternoon, but thought it'd be a good time for him to announce it also in public.
Thank you, Jose. Tony Vicari, Aviation Director at the Durango La Plata County Airport, will provide two very brief updates on significant federal grant awards at DRO. The first is actually an anticipated grant award, but a significant one. I'd just like to highlight today we started circulation of an $11.6 million infrastructure grant to fund the rehabilitation of runway 321 at the Durango La Plata County Airport. We've talked about this project for over a year now, solidifying final dates for construction last September as we approach that particular project's impact here at Durango this September. So today that $11.6 million federal grant was officially offered and is circulating for final execution. So we look forward to bringing that project to fruition as previously discussed. And then on the other front, the more surprising news to us and very exciting, as we were notified today that the airport will be the recipient of a $3.2 million award through the newly passed bipartisan infrastructure laws airport terminal program, which is a competitive grant function of the bill award allocation to the FAA that's intended specifically for investment in terminals across the country. This is a highly competitive process. In the first wave of applications, there were over 600 applications that came in from airports across the country, totaling over $14 billion, with only $1 billion of available funding for this year. Very competitive process in terms of the FAA ultimately choosing which projects would secure those awards in federal fiscal year 22, and Durango was selected as one. So those funds will be critical to us delivering phase 1A of terminal development at the DRO. We're excited for that. As a very brief overview and reminder for those who've looked at the project plans, phase 1A of this project is intended to break ground in the first quarter of 2023. We're approximately 50% the way through total design, currently out to bid on a construction manager at risk service acquisition in the community. We close on that within the next 2 weeks, and we'll bring a contractor on board to become our partner in this project. And the overall scope of that will deliver gate and hold room space, one new airline gate that'll allow for additional capacity at the airport, added post-screening concessions, public restrooms, as well as backbone utility infrastructure to enable our future phase 1B project, which is tentatively scoped to begin in 2024. So major news for us, very exciting. That'll really move the needle in terms of our ability to bring phase 1A of this project into fruition and also leverage or allow us to take some of our funds that we had previously allocated to this first phase of the project and push them forward to phase 1B, which is the larger piece of the project. So very good news all around.
Can I ask you a little question? First of all, congratulations, fantastic news, both grants. You mentioned 14 billion is available, 1 billion was awarded this year. I'm not getting our hopes up, but is the other 13 billion separated over the next years? And is that something that's on the horizon for you? Obviously, it's on the horizon.
Yeah, so the bipartisan infrastructure law, as it relates to the airports and the FAA package, there's several buckets of funding effectively. One, which is this particular program, the airport terminal program, is $5 billion in total funding allocated over the next 5 fiscal years, so $1 billion per year. There were 14 billion in requests that came in this first fiscal year, of which there was only the 1 billion available. So after this, there will be 4 additional federal fiscal year cycles for additional applications to come in across the country to compete for the remaining 4 billion. At this point, we would fully intend that we would put phase 1B of this project into consideration in those next 4 fiscal years. However, I'll state that this program is only going to become more competitive as time goes by. We were in an advantageous position in that we were already moving through a design process and able to present a guaranteed maximum price to the FAA during this federal fiscal year cycle. And that positioned us very well to compete for this year's grant award. Not to write it off, but I would think, securing additional funding for phase 1B will certainly give it a good go. And I think we have a highly justified and eligible project, but it will grow more competitive over time. The good news on the other side of that, though, is that another bucket of funding within the bipartisan infrastructure law as it relates to airports is allocated funding. So another portion, the much larger piece, which is actually a $15 billion pot over the 5 fiscal years, is an allocated formulaic base outlay. And so that award was already announced previously in the year for Durango, which was 1.9 million in change. And that's available for us to use as we see fit within our CIP for eligible projects. Our federal fiscal year 22, so current year bill allocation is being used to help deliver a taxiway reconstruction project, base infrastructure at the airport. However, we anticipate that the next 4 years of cycle that we would get, which should each be in the $1.9 million range, will be allocated towards terminal improvement. So in sum, between those 5 fiscal years, that's about $9.5 million in fixed allocated funding coming to us, with this latest $3.2 million award being in and above that. So in total sum, we're going to see somewhere in the range of about $12 million in bill investment at the airport, with the vast majority of that being allocated for terminal improvement. So it's a really great situation where our project design and capital planning is aligning with available funding and allowing us to take opportunity to really move the ball on this particular project in a way that fits the incremental needs of the airport.
Thank you. Good job.
Other counselors?
Thank you.
And good job of being prepared so that we will have the right things at the right time.
Yeah, I think that's really the big takeaway for us, is being well aligned and having a thoughtful planning process through the city processes and our capital development program to be in the position to take advantage of these kind of funding opportunities.
Fantastic news, Tony. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Congratulations. And for our final update, Deputy Police Chief Bryce Current is going to provide the council an update on some traffic study participation or programming that they are doing.
Hello, Mayor, Council. My name is Bryce Kern. I'm the Deputy Chief with Durango. As part of our strategic plan for public safety, we're looking at several traffic strategies. Because of the traffic data that we've seen, we wanted to update you on what we're doing on 3rd Ave. We're looking at extending the red zones on some of the street corners on 3rd. The issues are obstructed sight distance more than they are speed, and I'll explain as you look left or as you cross the intersections. So we've had 40 crashes in the past 3 years, half of which have been T-bone collisions, and there's been some injuries as well. So the intersections without stop signs aren't the issues, it's the intersections so the intersections with stop signs are not the issues, it's the ones without stop signs, as you probably know. We're wanting to extend the red zones at least 1 additional parking space from each intersection. And so July 7th, we're meeting with the city engineering, multimodal parking streets department to discuss other options as well. Next, we'll meet with the residents of 3rd Ave. So the stop signs are at 8th Street and 12th Street, and we're going to be concentrating on 5 intersections, which would be it's not going to be 10 parking. It's going to be 10 total parking spaces, not 20, because it's just going to be the ones as you're looking left when you're crossing. And they're going to be at 7th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 13th. So that's 5 intersections and 2 parking spaces extensions on those intersections. We've conducted several speed studies on the street, and I think the average is around 23 to 24 miles an hour speed. And we've done several, and we have some other ideas on how to do more speed studies there that are more accurate, where the speed's not actually showing and people slow down. We're going to see if that changes anything. But the problem's not speed as much as with the crashes that we've seen, it's sight distance and people trying to look right as people are crossing on foot, and then looking left to see if a vehicle's coming with the obstructed view, and then looking right again, and then looking left, and then trying to time it, and then there's already somebody walking. And so it makes it very dangerous. So we're going to have a lot of conversation on that. We're going to include all the right people that are affected, and make sure we have some solutions there, and provide our best professional option as far as public safety and what'll make it a safe street.
Comments, questions?
Maybe, go ahead.
Will this be used to inform like the multimodal board when they talk about East 3rd Avenue and the changes that might occur there as far as traffic and bike lanes and things like that?
I'm not sure. I'm sure it'll be all part of it, because we're going to meet on the 7th and discuss all those things as well. So, but we want to work together with everybody and look at all the options. Obviously, this is an option we have right now, because we want to look at public safety, and that's going to be our best professional opinion for that. And we'll see if there's any additional. All right, thank you.
Yeah, I had, first of all, thank you for that update and presentation. I think I know the problem because I think it's, especially if it's dark, it gets pretty tricky. I was just wondering, is it maybe more for Jose, is it the police that takes this kind of project on? Or is it more, what is it, transportation or multimodal? When you start talking about parking spaces and line of sight, it seems, I would have never thought that the police department is addressing this concern. I thought the police department would say, hey, we have a lot of accidents here, or this is a risky area. We get a lot of feedback. City manager, take care of it.
Well, one thing we've really tried to do recently, especially with a lot of the trainings that the city managers put on recently, is work together as a team and, become strategic and solve problems, not just look at, fixing our little piece of the pie.
Yeah.
But solve problems as a unit, and communicate effectively. We've already communicated with some. We just started knocking doors the other day just to get a taste of what everybody else thinks out there. I'm trained to drive, I'd say professionally, right, in the police academy, and every year we have to do driving training, and I feel like I'm taking my life in my own hands when I'm creeping out there every day. So we need to do something about it, and so we're going to work as a team and get that done.
Well, it's good. I'm glad you bring it up. And
Absolutely. I think Bryce hit it on the nail on the head, is that it's about accountability. And if it's affecting one of us, it's affecting all of us, and we all need to take action in it, even if it may not necessarily line up perfectly within a designated area. But sometimes at that point, if it doesn't quite line up with one or the other, it falls through the cracks. But this is a great way of not allowing that and stepping up and being part of the solution. So thank you.
Thank you.
And Jose, great job in instilling that culture and teamwork in our leadership. So,
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to add, I think I've seen it through many departments, of breaking down of the silos and a real integrated effect. And you're seeing it, and we're hearing about it from the community. So thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks goes to the great team we have.
Great. So on that note, let's have a review of the consent agenda. Can the city clerk read for us the items on that?
7.1 is approval of minutes of the June 20th, 2022 City Council's study session. 7.2 is approval of minutes from the June 20th, 2022 City Council regular meeting. 7.3 is discussion and possible action concerning a resolution authorizing an appropriation for the Colorado Department of Transportation High Visibility Enforcement Grant for fiscal year 2022-23. 7.4 is discussion of possible action concerning a request for an implied consent agreement at 1704 County Road 240. 7.5 is discussion and action regarding a replat of the 8th Avenue loft units 201. 7.6 is discussion of possible action concerning the final plat for Twin Buttes Phase 1 Filing 2. 7.7 is discussion and possible action regarding the extension of emergency ordinance 2022-17, delegating authority to the city manager to impose fire and smoking restrictions within the city. 7.8 is a request for a public hearing to consider amendments to the land use and development code, the hearing to be held on July 19th, 2022. 7.9 is a request for a public hearing to consider the Three Springs Crossing lots 3 and 4 boundary adjustment, also to be held on July 19th. 7.10 is a request for a public hearing to consider the Three Springs V1 F2A subdivision of lots E1, E2, and E5 to be held on July 19th. 7.11 is final approval of ordinance O-22-20 authorizing a ground lease with Asher Aviation Group LLC for the airport hangar E4 at the airport and declaring an effective date. 7.12 is final approval of O-2022-21 authorizing a ground lease with Asher Aviation Group LLC for the airport hangar E5 at the airport and declaring an effective date. 7.13 was final approval of ordinance O-2022-22 authorizing a ground lease with Asher Aviation Group LLC for airport hangar E6 at the airport and declaring an effective date. And lastly, 7.14 is final approval of ordinance O-2022-23 approving annexation and initial zoning for the Highway 3 third addition to the city of Durango and declaring an effective date.
Thank you. I'll remind everyone that the consent agenda is intended to allow the city council by a single motion to approve matters that are considered routine or non-controversial. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member requests an item be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Items removed from the consent agenda will be considered under agenda item 9. Does any counselor have an item to be removed from the consent agenda? Hearing none, do we have a motion to proceed with the consent agenda?
So moved.
That'll be to vote on it in the affirmative.
You'll need a second. I'll make the second.
Yeah, okay. Any discussion? May we have the vote, please?
Counselor Baxter,
Yes.
Counselor Buell,
Yes.
Counselor Bosman's,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Youssef,
Yes.
and Mayor Nosworthy.
Yes. All right. We have no public hearings tonight, so we will move on to, I believe, the city attorney will be bringing to us the introduction of ordinances. And if you always be so kind as to give us the number, as you usually do.
Yes, this is ordinance code 2022-24. The ordinance authorizing utility easement for charter communications for the installation of fiber optic line services federal governments. This was subject to a hearing on 6/20/22 for council. The ordinance has been prepared and is presented tonight.
Any questions of the city attorney? Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 2022-24.
I'll second.
Any discussion? I do have a question. The second reading will be on, excuse me?
Sorry.
I forgot to, sorry, Tom, I forgot to turn on my mic. Second reading will be on consent.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you had questions now, this was the
This
time.
now is the time, yes.
All right. No discussion? We have the vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Youssef,
Yes.
Counselor Baxter,
Yes.
Counselor Bosman's,
Yes.
Counselor Buell,
Yes.
and Mayor Nosworthy.
Yes. Item number 11.2.
Yes, this is ordinance 2022-25. An ordinance authorizing a utility easement for fast track communications for the installation of an underground fiber optic line to service Hillcrest Golf Course. This item is also subject to a hearing before council on June 20th, 22. The ordinance has been prepared and presented for first reading tonight.
Any questions of the city attorney? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2022-25.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Let's have a vote.
Counselor Buell,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Youssef,
Yes.
Counselor Baxter,
Yes.
Counselor Bosman's,
Yes.
and Mayor Nosworthy.
Yes. And finally, item 11.2. Oh, excuse me. No, we did that too. Sorry about that. On to the city manager, item 12.1, discussion of a possible action on a memorandum of understanding between the city of Durango and the Durango Fire Protection District.
Yes, Mayor and Council, I am here to present to you a memorandum of understanding which has been approved with the Durango Fire Protection District. I'll give a brief summary on the outline of some of the key points that are in the MOU. On May 24th, 2022, the council did authorize myself and the city attorney to negotiate a memorandum of understanding with the Durango Fire Protection District to negotiate with DFPD for the possible acquisition of River City Hall property. Doesn't necessarily mean it's the entire property, but it is the property to take a look and open negotiations. We did go back and forth with the fire district and just want to give thank you to our city attorney, Dirk Nelson, Kevin Hall, Aaron Hyder, Chief Brammer, and Cynthia Sneed have all been involved in helping and working this through. It's definitely been a team effort, but we do believe in what I have in front of you is my recommendation to approve. I think it accomplishes what were the outlying objectives that we're looking to achieve. It does open up the negotiations for 1 year that has the ability to be extended or shortened by mutual agreement if the city and DFPD reaches an acceptable agreement prior to the conclusion of 1 year, or if more time is needed. Either party can terminate the MOU with a 45-day written notification. However, within 14 days of that 45-day written notification, we must have a joint meeting between the city council and the DFPD board. That would allow us to at least have 30 days to remedy any situation that may be at an impasse. We also are committing to bi-monthly joint meetings during the term of this MOU. This allows both boards to be able to hear the updates of the negotiations and be able to have an opportunity to ask questions of myself or Hal, the fire chief, as well as provide those updates in a public venue. So trying to check all the boxes in regards to making sure that we're updating everyone, the public, as well as both elected bodies of the status of our negotiations. During the negotiation period, DFPD agrees that it will not pursue any land use applications, construction plans, or submittals for a downtown fire station site outside the current downtown station site. So the 9R building would not be progressing during these negotiations if that's where they were looking to do a fire station. So really giving us an opportunity to have some good open dialogue and discussions in regards to, is there a possible swap that could be happening, or any other type of ability to acquire for the fire district, possibly the River City Hall, whether that's lease, whether that's sale, whether that's transfer. All options are still on the table. This just opens up the negotiation. And then also during this, it does say that the DFPD and city will initiate design ideas and public meetings to gather public input on conceptual site plan alternatives that would appropriately integrate the proposed facility into the Animas River corridor. Again, making sure that we're receiving public feedback for anything as we move forward that might be a possibility, so that the public is involved. That is the summary of the MOU, and it does have my recommendation for approval.
Questions of the city manager? Well, I'd like to, first of all, Jose, thank you for your work on this and bringing it about. And I appreciate especially you recognizing that the site is larger and it was larger than I think the fire district said they needed. So there may be opportunities for other things on that site as well. So I think that's important. Any other feedback on this?
Just thank you for your hard work and coming to an agreement with the new fire board, and yeah, I appreciate it, and it looks good work.
Do we?
Yeah, I thank you as well. And I just wanted to ask for hopefully regular updates. Keep moving this forward, we hope.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And for that, since I have an option, we've also been having those discussions parallel with the MOU. So it's not today, we're starting kind of from day one. We've already had some pretty good discussions in regards to some things that might be possible and really getting the foundation set. I know sometimes it doesn't seem that it's moving in the public, may seem that it's moving fast enough, but there's a lot of things that have to start off at the very beginning, setting that foundation of structures and things in that matter when you're looking at finances and architects and engineers and how does that work and who do you utilize. So there is active work being happening at this moment.
I'm really glad we're where we are on this, so that we're moving forward in a positive fashion for both the community and for the DFPD and the city. So good job, and keep up the good work.
Appreciate it.
Great. Do we have a call for a vote to approve this MOU?
I'll move that we approve the MOU between the DFPD and the city of Durango for the River City Hall Fire District location.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? Then let's go with a vote.
Counselor Buell?
Yes.
Counselor Baxter?
Yes.
Counselor Bosman's?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Youssef?
Yes.
And Mayor Noseworthy?
Yes. Thank you. The next item, item 13, is council reports and actions. Each council member is provided an opportunity to report on meetings recently attended and to discuss topics not otherwise appearing on the agenda. Does anyone want to start with a report?
I can.
I didn't have any meetings, so.
I can start. I had two, but Tony in his update pretty much said my entire thing that I had written down from our airport commission meeting. So So yeah, I don't really have anything else to expand on with the airport commission meeting. And then we had our creative economy commission. We met 2 new board members, Sarah and Brad. We got a report for Common Threads again, and it's sort of the same. We missed the great opportunity to get it installed in the center console. We're looking at different areas, and it's just sort of kind of a continuation of that. We talked about the lodger's tax application and next steps. It's out. We're accepting applications. There's like a mini board that's going to review them and then give recommendations, like a ranking. We have a score and ranking system, and then bring them to the CEC, and then council will see that come before them as soon as that first set comes through. And then we had a presentation from Brenda McCone at the Durango Arts Center on the Durango Arts Center expansion. And so there's some exciting stuff that they have coming up potentially over there. So that was pretty much it. Those are the only 2 meetings I had.
Right. Joint Parks and Rec, Natural Lands and Multimodal. Did anyone from the group attend that? Okay, great. Anything from CML you want us to?
No. Sorry about that. I have a retreat this weekend, board retreat this weekend, and probably update after that.
Great. Council Buell and I serve on the health provider assessment kind of working group in the community that's been started by some former physicians and other hospital healthcare professionals. Unfortunately, neither one of us was able to attend, but we did just get the readout from that. So I'll make certain to share that with council. Some good news is that we are the community is making progress in hiring more primary care physicians, which has been a real shortfall for us. And so I will get that report and send it out to everyone. Anything else? Then on that note, we'll adjourn this meeting at 6:34 p.m.